Rails 2.0 is officially released, so if you haven't already, I encourage you to run the gem install Rails command to upgrade to the latest version, Rails 2.0. Now with Rails 2 you get a lot of new features, so in this episode I will continue our look at the new additions by checking out migrations and some related rake tasks. So to start this off, I'm going to just generate a new application. I'll call it to do, new Rails app. And in this, what's one of the first things you do to a new Rails application? Well, you probably want to check out your database YAML file and configure that how you want to for each of the different environments. So let's say I just like the way this looks. I'll keep it at that. What's the second thing you do? Well, you generate your databases for each environment. Well, this is where Rails 2.0 comes in really handy because you get this new rake task called db create. And this will create the database for the current environment, which is the development environment. So it'll make the to-do development database automatically in your database engine. If we want to create the databases for all environments, we just add a little all option on there. db create all. And it'll create the development, test, and production environment databases. You can see to-do development was already there, so it just skipped that one. Okay, now that we have our new databases set up, let's just get started by creating a model. Let's create a task model. And just like before, we can add columns directly in line here. So let me add a name column, make it a string. And how about a priority, make that an integer. And let's take a look at that. Alright, so here's our migration file that it generated for us. As you can see, it's quite a bit different than the old way. This is commonly known as sexy migrations because everything's a lot more concise. As you can see, the column, type of the column is now in place of where you would just type column before. So you could just type t dot, then the type of the column string, and then whatever the name of the column you want for that type to be. t.integer is a priority. And one benefit with this approach is that you can add as many columns as you want of that type in line here. So all on this one line, if we want to add another integer column, we could just add it here. Let's say we want a position column in here for making the tasks ordered or something. So that's how migrations work. Oh, also, this t.timestamps here. What this will do is add a created at and updated at columns to this table because Rails assumes you pretty much always want that. But if you don't, you just remove that line from there if you don't want those two columns. But we want them here, so that's fine. It doesn't hurt anything really here. Alright, so let's create our new tasks table by running the migrations. Now, usually, after you create your migration, your table, you want to add and remove columns to it. So what's the easiest way to do that? In Rails 2, there's a new way to do that, and that is by running script generate migration. And if you stick to this naming convention, which is add and the name of the column you want, let's say we want to add a description column to our tasks table, to task. So add description to task. If you stick to that convention of the words add and to here, this migration script will automatically detect this word task and know that it needs to add these columns to the tasks table. So we can just list the columns we want to add to our tasks table. So let's call it description, make it a text column. And let's take a look at our migration that generated for us. So you can see it properly added the description column to our tasks table there for us. So that's a nice easy way to generate a column all in one line, and of course you can add as many columns as you want, just like when you're generating a model. Let's say you want to remove the description column now. You just type remove description from task and just specify your column here. And then this will do just the opposite, where it just reverses, where it just reverses the order here, so it's removing that task column and adding it in the down. So that's a nice handy way to add and remove columns in Rails 2.0. So a lot of fancy new additions to migrations in Rails 2, which will really save us a lot of time. This episode is sponsored by Peepcode. Please visit peepcode.com and check out their latest screencasts on Ruby on Rails.